All right, so the 2024 State of the Union just happened about a month ago at this point, and as expected, it was a mess. It was full of lies, gaslighting. I mean, I suppose those would be in the same vein, but it also was essentially the same exact speeches we've had in every other State of the Union. I mean, you watch this 2024 one, it's the same as 2023, same as 2022, like just the same old nonsense, weird yelling, weird making fun of Republicans, acting like MAGA Republicans are horrible, and then the little bit of unprofessionalism that comes along with that, whether it's heckling or it's whatever else. This State of the Union had a little bit extra unprofessionalism in the form of Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I don't know the other rep's name, but they wore very unprofessional stuff. You associate your representatives and senators and president and all that with suits, you know, very business professional. And Marjorie Taylor Greene showed up looking like a trucker with her hat on and her Trump shirt and her, what did she have, jeans? Like, just very unprofessional looking. And then the other guy, at least he wore a suit and he had a jacket and all that to kind of hide what he had on, but underneath it was just a t-shirt with some kind of propaganda written on it. So the point is if you're not an avid follower of politics, this is gonna seem very weird and out of place to you. You're gonna see this, like, if you just check in for, say, the State of the Union and a couple other small events here and there, and then whatever the news tells you, you know, you're gonna see this and be like, what is going on? And I'm sure a lot of people thought that. You know, if you're somebody who actually follows politics all the time, then you get it. You understand Marjorie Taylor Greene and her grift and all that. You understand what her clothes are representing. But from an ill-informed individual, you know, you're seeing this as your government officials. So that was kind of weird. Granted, that's not really Biden's fault, I suppose, because this would be his State of the Union, you know what I mean? It's not really his fault how she decided to dress up, but still. And then there's also the aspect of how Biden is, you know, clearly elderly, clearly has advanced stages of dementia, whether the media wants to admit it or not, and obviously goes to bed very early because of his age and all that. And so in order for him to do something like this, which was at 9 p.m. Eastern, you know, they're pumping him up with some kind of weird concoction of stuff, whether it's tons of energy drinks or cocaine or something. And you saw that as the night went on, because he starts out all fired up and, you know, almost like he's a normal middle-aged, young, energetic guy. And then as the night goes on, he kind of starts to slow down and those words start slurring. It reminded me a lot of Logan when he takes the shots and to help the kids out in the forest, and, you know, while the stuff's in him, he's aggressive and he's this regular Wolverine. But as it starts wearing off, he starts getting tired again and hurting, and he's almost worse because of when he had the concoction in him. And yeah, that was Biden. So there was that as well. As a side note, another thing I want to point out that I personally thought was pretty stupid was how every single time Biden said something, and a lot of the stuff he said was pretty dumb. I mean, I got this giant list here that I want to go over front and back of nonsense from this speech. But yeah, she would constantly do like a standing ovation over everything. It was even worse in the very beginning. He said one thing, standing ovation, starts to sit down and pick up her papers. He says another thing, she's looking at him, and, oh, I gotta stand up again. Over the dumbest things. And it was just like, this is kind of like, you almost get like secondhand embarrassment. Like, bruh, just relax. You can just sit and clap. You don't need to keep standing. What he's saying ain't that great. One thing I will say at least is, what's his name? Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House. He is a kind of goofy little guy. Not too intimidating. Don't really know how well he's doing as Speaker of the House / as the representative for Republicans. But at least unlike Pelosi, he didn't go and rip up the speech after it was over, so good for him there. I mean, I guess McCarthy probably didn't either, but I didn't make a video on that State of the Union, so can't really call that one out. But anyways, ooh, oh wow. Let's just get into it about all the points. So to start, he opened up talking about FDR, how FDR gave the State of the Union. If I'm not mistaken, FDR was the first president to give a State of the Union, because obviously we were in World War II, and it was a way, TV was like a new thing, and it was a way for him to, was it even TV? Maybe it was just on the radio. I don't know. Either way, it was kind of like a new thing. People were tuning in, so it was a way to address the nation in like a quick, easy way, as opposed to past presidents, which would have had letters. So anyways, it was the whole point was just to tell everyone what was going on, how things are going. Yes, we're in this war, but this is what's up. We're winning, or whatever, everything's fine. So the point is nowadays, State of the Union is actually kind of pointless. I mean, you have quick access to everything. Twitter, the news on TV, even co-workers are probably talking about stuff. So State of the Union almost is pointless. Like, it's kind of dumb that we still do it. It's just like the White House Correspondents' Dinners. Trump didn't go and they act like it's so terrible, but at the end of the day, it is kind of stupid and weird, and it's just like, you're kind of just like brushing shoulders up with the media. Oh, hey, you want to talk nicely about me? I'm here. That's not what your job is. Your job's to run a country, not schmooze up with the media. So, but then after talking about the FDR bit, he goes and leads into Ukraine, which, that's a terrible move. That's a terrible thing to open up with. Again, especially if you're an outsider who doesn't really follow politics too deeply. You're going to be listening to the State of the Union to hear about your country that you live in, and like your president is telling you about Ukraine right out the gate. It's not really the right move. Also, these people don't care about Ukraine. They care about their country. They're trying to hear what's up with their country, not Ukraine. So you're sitting there listening to this, and it's like, Ukraine? Why are we talking about Ukraine? Okay, cool. I don't care what's going on in Ukraine. I thought this was supposed to be about my country. State of the Union, not State of the World. Again, that's for people who aren't actively involved in politics. Obviously, if you are, then you know the whole situation with Ukraine, which, if you really pay attention to politics, you shouldn't care about it anyways. I never have. It's stupid. We shouldn't be sending them money. We shouldn't anything. This is an issue that would have been resolved in a day if we didn't start pouring money over there for no reason. But anyways, he goes on to say that something about Ukraine will, if Ukraine loses or whatever, then it's a threat to democracy overseas and abroad, which is very ironic because Ukraine, first off, is not a democracy. It's like a authoritarian type regime. I don't fully know the politics there, but I don't think it's a democracy. It's almost like what Russia has, like a fake democracy. Yeah, there's opponents, but they're not going to win. And if anybody starts gaining traction, they'll probably gain a weird, mysterious illness out of nowhere, which will end up resulting in them dying. Don't know how that happened. So anyways, but also, Ukraine has been known to be extremely corrupt. But now all of a sudden, because they have an issue with Russia and we have a corrupt president that needs to hide things and cover things up, now it's okay, right? Now they're a democracy. Now the problem over there is a threat to democracy overseas, blah, 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 blah. It's just gaslighting. They're trying to fool people into thinking that that his, meaning Biden's, cause is worthy when it's not. Goes on to say something that's very stupid. He transitions into talking about inflation. Obviously, everybody's struggling because of inflation. Inflation's affecting absolutely everything, especially groceries. It's kind of bad when you go to for me personally, I go to the grocery store. I'm not even sure if $100 is enough to buy dinner for one night. Like, that's ridiculous. Before, $100 used to be for the week. Now I'm not even sure if it's enough for one night, which it barely is. It's $65 to just buy spaghetti, some spices, and chicken. $65. That's ridiculous. But anyways, that's beside this point. He's trying to say that in the world we have the lowest inflation, and that's 100% incorrect. There are several other countries whose inflation rates are significantly lower than ours. I don't remember them offhand. I should have wrote them down on my list. I didn't. But yeah, we are, relatively speaking, we're actually kind of high on the grand scheme of things. I think we have an overall cumulative inflation, at least as of the State of the Union, of like 3.1% or something like that. And there are tons of countries that aren't even at 1%. They're under that still. So I don't know where he's coming up with we have the lowest inflation in the world. No, we don't. No, we're not. It's up there. Then his usual lie that he loves to spew. I don't even know who he thinks is buying this, because if you're living day to day in this country, which all of us should be, this is where we're from, then you would know right out the gate that this is a lie. So I don't know why he keeps trying to push this and thinking that people are going to believe it just because he says it. But he talks about how our economy is doing great and we're coming back. And yeah, that's all wrong. First off, coming back from what? We did come back when we had Trump. You know, Obama left the economy struggling to recover from a recession and everything, and Trump fixed that and turned it right around, and stock market was booming, job opportunities were great, and more coming. You know, the Keystone Pipeline, that was something that was gonna start, but then Trump's term ended, and then of course this dickhead that we have now quickly canceled it. So there went all those job opportunities, but that would have opened up a lot of job opportunities, good paying jobs too. But yeah, things were good. Then this moron comes along and destroys it all. So I don't really know what he's trying to say when he says we're coming back. Coming back from what? Coming back to squander? Like, does he want the country? I don't even know how to phrase this. He wants the country to be terrible. Clearly, that's why he's destroying it. So I guess we're coming back from goodness? Hey, we're coming back. He must mean this, you know, back and going down. Yay, we're coming back. So then we can all be struggling. Well, majority of you can be struggling. Now, he's not going to struggle, but all of us regular folk can be struggling. We're coming back to those days of struggling. Yeah. And then the economy doing great. How is the economy doing great when inflation is super high, when people can't afford to buy houses because the mortgage rates are ridiculous? You know, the economy is not great. Also, what was I gonna say? I don't know. Drawing a blank now because I'm thinking of way too many things. But anyways, yeah, economy's not doing great. And then same as stock market. I know stock market maybe shouldn't be a real metric of reflection of an economy, but still, stock market's not doing that wonderful either. It's not doing terribly, but it's not doing that wonderfully either. I have a stock portfolio. It's not really growing as aggressively as it could or should be, so I kind of know. And then if you want to talk about we're coming back from what? We have terrible infrastructure. Look at everything that keeps happening. You have planes that are just falling apart now. You have the recent boat situation, the one that hit into that boat in Maryland. I mean, that hit into the bridge in Maryland, and that bridge just came down. Like, that was insane. It looks like the boat basically just like tapped it and the whole entire bridge just fell. Like, that's serious problems. The bridge should have much more integrity than that. But we're coming back. Okay, liar. Anyways, then the other thing he likes to say is the unity in this country is the best ever. I guess that's a good way to try to get things back on the right track, but unfortunately it is 100% false. I mean, the unity of this country is not that solid. You have one side of the country hates everything about Republicans and Trump specifically. You know, all those freaks that, no, when Trump won last time. And then you have the other side that, although they're more sane, they don't agree with this Democrat crap like me. Don't agree with the Democrats. Don't support Biden and all that. That's not unity. Unity is everybody's relatively on the same page. Even if you don't support the leader fully, like you're a Republican and the president's Democrat, you're still able to be like, man, it is what it is. Nah, oh my God, this guy sucks and he needs to get out of here. Also, the irony with saying that the country's more unified than ever is that Biden himself constantly is being extremely divisive. He's always talking about racism, always talking about you know, the plans for the reparations for black people, which is such a dumb idea, such a dumb plan, because, you know, we nowadays didn't have anything to do with slavery, so why would we have to pay? Those black people nowadays weren't slaves, their parents weren't, you know, I didn't own slaves, my parents didn't, they didn't, like, so what? That's a very dumb plan. But regardless, you know, with that, or every single time he gets in front of a camera, then it's always MAGA Republicans doing his Hitler pose. That's not very unified when you're straight up vilifying half the population, acting like they're so terrible. So I guess it's a good sentiment to say that, but it is very inaccurate. Yeah, then he wanted to go on to talk about the $35 insulin cap, trying to act like that's something of one of his policies or something like that. That was started under Trump, okay? That was started like in 2017, I think, okay? That was right away in Trump's first term. I don't think it ever got through fully, but it was started under him. So for Biden to try to take credit and act like he's doing something, like, no. It just was able to finally get finalized under you. That has nothing to do with you doing that, though. You know what I mean? Like, that would be like at my job where I do engineering. There's a lot of legacy work, and it would almost be like, just because I'm the chief engineer now, like me taking all the credit for all those other designs. Like, no, I didn't do those designs. Yeah, I could redo them if needed, but I didn't do those designs. That was whoever's, signed off on the print. Like, same thing with this dumbass trying to take all the credit. Oh, $35 insulin. Yeah, go me. Okay. Another thing he really loves talking about all the time, which I'm sick and tired of hearing, is how he's talking about the deficit's reduced. Oh, we reduced the deficit. Oh, we got the deficit down. Oh, deficit reduction. Blah, blah, blah. Deficit this, deficit that, deficit this. Deficit doesn't mean anything. I'm sick and tired of these dumb presidents, or not presidents, I mean politicians, always trying to talk about the deficit being down and acting like that's such a great thing. Because really all it is just confusing people. People who don't really know, like, economic terms and stuff like that. They're going to hear that and think, ooh, that sounds good. But it means absolutely nothing. All the deficit means is that whatever your metrics are, like say it's yearly, or even if it's just like quarterly or something, all that means is in the current quarter, you spent less money that you didn't have than the quarter before. So for an example, let's take us with credit cards. Credit card bills are monthly. So say one month you use your credit card and you put $500 on it. Maybe you had some kind of car work. And then the next month you put $100 on it. You didn't have cash, but you went to go to the movies with your family. So technically you could say, oh, I cut my deficit by $400, by 80%. Oh, I did so great. But at the end of the day, you still have $600 debt you gotta pay back. Who cares if you cut your deficit? You still added to your debt. You still owe your credit card company $600 now. If you didn't use it, you'd still have the $500. Which even then, if it was, oh, I cut my deficit down by 100%, okay, well, you still have $500 debt sitting on your credit card. So debt is what they need to talk about. And of course, the politicians will never talk about that because the debt just keeps going up, 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 up. We keep wasting tons and tons and tons and billions of dollars to Ukraine and all this other nonsense. Israel, putting up places for illegal immigrants to stay because forbid if we do anything with border security. Oh man. Oh geez, what's going on? My bad. But yeah, that debt just keeps going up. Recently, they just passed a $1.2 trillion spending bill to avoid shutting down the government. At this point, they seriously just need to let the government shut down. If you can't not overspend money that you don't have, and the result is, oh, the government's going to shut down, then let it shut down. This is getting ridiculous. I mean, seriously, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I'm 100% correct, but I think when Biden came into office, the national debt was like 27 trillion, which is a ridiculous number. Now it's up to like 34 or something like that? Like, this mother effer added $7 trillion debt in 3 years. Because, this year basically just started. So he's got a whole other term to add tons to the national debt. But you want to keep talking about deficit? I don't care about deficit. That debt needs to come down. That's something they should be bragging about, but they never work on the debt. You know how much cooler it would sound if they were like, oh, when I came into office, national debt was 27 trillion. Now I got it down to 20 trillion. It'd be like, yeah. He would be like, yeah, geez, good for you. That's awesome. I don't care about the deficit. That means nothing. At the end of the day, that debt needs to get paid off, and who ends up paying it? Us, taxpayers. Which that just means the higher that the debt is, the higher inflation will be, the higher, more expensive everything's going to cost, higher taxes are going to be. Like, get rid of the debt is what I care about. Stop talking about deficit all the time. The next big topic they wanted to talk about was a very standard Democrat talking point, and it was Roe v. Wade being overturned, which is getting old to keep hearing. First off, they act like it's Trump's fault that Roe v. Wade got overturned. It has nothing to do with him. It was the Supreme Court, okay? They made the decisions to do that. It has nothing to do with Trump. It's not like he could influence that. Okay, maybe he could argue, well, he appointed 3 new justices who were conservative and blah, 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 and of course they're going to vote that way. Okay, but that's what he's all about. He's not going to appoint a liberal judge, just like you guys wouldn't appoint a conservative judge, because that's not what you're all about. You want that gross liberalism. So, but at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with him. And like they always want to keep talking about, oh, elect us again, 4 more years, and we'll get Roe back. No, you won't. How do you think you're gonna get Roe back? It's up to the Supreme Court. If they chose to overturn it, then that's the way it's gonna be. Like, it doesn't matter how many years you're president for. You can't just do that. It's up to the Supreme Court. So stop talking about it. It is what it is. Geez, the funny part is Ruth Bader Ginsburg is like one of their, I don't know, their icons. Oh my God, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG. And even she, who was on the panel that approved Roe v. Wade in the first place, ended up saying afterwards that, yeah, we made a mistake. Because it's true. That was part of the Constitution, right? It was one of the amendments, or what was Roe v. Wade? No, it's just the regular, well, I don't know. It's kind of complicated, actually. Was it an amendment? Because it basically becomes the law of the land. Well, having a law of your land be that you can get an abortion is really weird when you think about it. Like, that's not something that should be defining your country. Oh, so we have, freedom for everybody. It's a capitalist society, so you can make a business and build your way up. This. Oh, and abortions. Like, that's weird. So getting it down to states level is exactly where it should be. If the state chooses to allow that, then that's the state's decision, not the federal decision. But these freaks who want to kill babies legally keep crying about it. Another thing I think is so stupid is they treat it like abortion's like your only option for like birth control or something. And it's like, there are plenty of other options, condoms, or maybe birth control, abstinence. That works great. Plenty of options. Maybe a combination, condom and birth control. Like, there's tons of options. That's not the only option. That's like your last, very, very extreme last resort is, oops, I got pregnant. But even then, you still know the risk you're taking. Like, be responsible. Don't just be an idiot who just wants to whine because, I can't kill this baby. It's funny because of how stupid it is. Oh yeah, he also had a couple of guests regarding Roe v. Wade, like somehow that was supposed to sway anybody to make them be, oh my God, we should definitely get this back. One of the guests was, I don't remember, but another one was something like, oh, she would have died if she wasn't able to get the procedure done. And it's like, it's kind of funny because who did end up dying? That baby. Like, it's weird. They don't see it that way. It's really weird. Like, oh, well, this person survived because we killed the other one. Okay, I mean, I get it. This person's more established and it has been existing and stuff, where this one is just starting, but you're still killing one to save the other. And I don't know. Anyways, so I already mentioned how he claimed that give him another turn and Roe v. Wade will be revisited and possibly overturned, so then there's law of the land again. And no, it won't. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the Supreme Court justices, so keep lying. Keep trying to gaslight people into thinking that you have some kind of authority like that. You don't. You're not in the judicial branch, and you never will be. You're too dumb for that. But the other thing was he casually, threatened the Supreme Court justices. Obviously, they were there as for the State of the Union, and he said something like, you'll soon find out the power of women. And it's like, okay, like, what kind of a threat is that anyways? What do you think's gonna happen? We don't vote for judges. They're appointed by a president, so... And he's also trying to taunt them. It's like, okay, well, this has been something that's been overturned for, a couple of years now? Like, we know the backlash. All it is the whiny libs that most likely aren't getting dick in the first place. So I don't know what they're so worried about. They're not getting pregnant. But that's all it is. So what are we going to learn? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're going to see the power of women. Okay, first off, you're taking out half the population of women because the conservative women are fine with what happened. And then even of the liberal women, it's only the extreme libs, you know, the blue-haired freaks that shave half their head but leave their armpits hairy and think that that's sending a message. And it's like, okay, your message that's being sent is that you're just trying to send a message, but your message is empty. It's just the idea of a message, so good try? But yeah, so like how much of the population really is that? 10%? Women only? So that's actually 5%? Because, you know, let's say half the population's women, so like, oh no, what if 5% of the freaks gonna do? Uh-oh. What kind of taunt was that? It was a terrible taunt. Like, shut up. Talk about the union, not trying to emptily taunt the Supreme Court justices. My next thing is, oh yeah, people started, after this, people, actually I think it was right after he talked to the Supreme Court judges, people in the crowd, so obviously representatives and stuff, that's mostly what's there, started chanting 4 more years, and it was like, oh my god, who would chant that? Who thinks 4 more years of this is good? Yeah, 4 more years of supporting Ukraine, 4 more years of extreme inflation, 4 more years of incompetence, yeah, 4 more years of embarrassing this country with all the nonsense that's been going on, cocaine being found in the White House, the weird sex stuff going on with that other guy, the weird trans and topless party that happened over the summer one year. Yeah, that's all great. Yeah. What? Like, I heard that and it was just, there's not much to talk about it. I just, when it started happening, it was just something like, almost like cringe, you know, just like, ugh, what? Like, you work in politics. How are you this misguided that you're gonna start cheering 4 more years? No. Like, end it now should have been the chant. End it now! Resign! The next thing, though, after this ended is he started to talk about debt forgiveness, most specifically student loan debt. And he had a person there again, it was some guy, and it said that, oh, his debts were forgiven, and then he was able to buy a house, and blah, blah, blah this, and blah, blah, blah that. You know, they can buy a house, they can start a new business, they can finally start a family. And all that is dumb. Just because you have student loans, you can't do any of that. First off, you should be... The way I see it is that student loans are voluntarily something that you take out, okay? You choose to go to college, you know you don't have enough money, so you need to take out money, aka a loan. You agree to those terms, you sign papers and all this, and then you gotta pay them after you graduate. Like, I don't know what these people are doing. I know what I did. I lived in an apartment, and I worked 2 jobs, and I did everything that I had to do to pay all my bills. It seems like a lot of these people who are struggling are just jumping in as soon as they graduate. All right, jump in the deep end. I'm going to go buy a house now. I'm going to get a new car now. I'm going to do this, do that. And then they're like, I don't have enough money. Well, live your life properly, idiot. What are you pulling, $60,000 a year, and you think you're going to swing a mortgage and student loans and a new car payment and car insurance and babies and this and that? Like, be realistic with your funds. You know, so then he's talking about student loan forgiveness, and it's like, first off, I don't think you really have the authority to do that, if I'm not mistaken. He doesn't. So him to keep trying to push that is like becoming authoritarian type territory, dictatorial territory, because that's what they would do, because they're the only voice that matters. That's not how it works here. You can't just say whatever you want and think it's supposed to happen. But second, you know, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, these loans, where do they go? They don't just go away. They become part of the system, added to the debt. Oh, we forgave those loans. Boop, now it's added to the debt, so that everyone else has to pay it off. Then how does that make any sense? How is that even fair to the people who did pay their loans off? And then what's that mean moving forward? Everybody's just gonna get loan forgiveness? Like, don't get me wrong, I think that schools and all that is a bit insane. The prices that schools charge and, you know, the loan interest rates and everything. I think some kind of regulations should be put on it, but just forgiving it? No, like, I think for student loans, maybe it should come with like 0 interest. Because at the end of the day, these people are borrowing money to try to better their lives. Like, banks shouldn't be trying to make money off that. Or if they do want to make a little bit of money, charge like a ridiculously low interest, like 0.25% or 0.5%. So you're technically making some money, but it's not anything that's gonna kill people. No, we get loans and they're at like 8%. So you end up paying like $200 a month, but only like $15 of that goes to your principal. And it's like, all right, does the bank really have to make, $185 a month off of me? That's ridiculous. So I think that should be a regulation. I also think there should be some kind of caps on what schools can charge, because at the end of the day, information is information. It doesn't matter if you go to Harvard or if you go to some regular, state college or whatever. It shouldn't be that one school's charging $60,000 a semester and the other one's charging $5,000. It's the same knowledge, same information. Like, why does just so you're paying that much extra just because of the name, the prestige? Oh, I went to Harvard. I learned exactly the same stuff as this other guy, but I went to Harvard and learned it. It's dumb. So I think there definitely should be some kind of a cap on this stuff too, to control costs. But straight up forgiving it is dumb. And then he goes on to talk about, oh, you were able to get a job, start a business, this, that. And I think, okay, if you want to start a business, maybe instead of getting student loans, you should have got a loan for the business. Duh. So you'd still have that money, but it would be used in a different way. Instead of essentially wasting it on an education that's probably not doing you any good, you could have used it for whatever you needed to start that business. Whether it's a computer or a truck or whatever, The other thing is, then, these people are buying houses, which almost sounds like, not funny, but like, how do I explain this? Not ironic, but, it's like you can't pay your student loan, but, you're going to go get a house now. You can't pay your student loan, which is maybe $300 a month, but you're going to pay a mortgage that's like $1,200 a month. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay. You couldn't afford the low bill, but you can afford $900 more. Got it. The next thing I have is, talking about fair taxes. So basically his topic here is that he says, the tax codes need to be made more fair, blah, blah, blah. He says that the 1% pay a lower tax rate than regular people. But here's the thing. Maybe they do, but at the end of the day, it's still a psychotic amount of money. Like, let's say you're a billionaire and you're being charged 10% tax rate, where regular people, what do we charge? Like, I always estimate that it's 27%. I don't really know. That's just what I use. So let's say it's 25% because that's an easier number. Okay, well, if you're pulling in, I don't know, say your pay is $1,500 a week. At 25%, that's what, $375? So that's $375 in taxes at your 25% tax rate. Where if you're a billionaire, and billionaires don't really get a weekly pay because their money's all different, how it's in the stock market and stuff. But just hypothetically, let's say they did get a weekly pay. A billionaire's pay would be, let's say, $5 million a week. And at a 10% tax rate, that's what, $500,000? So yeah, maybe their tax rate is lower, but you're getting way more money. $500,000 versus $375,000. Like, that's kind of why it's lower. Also, there is benefit in giving the rich people more of a break. I know, when you're poor, it sucks to have a higher tax rate because then it feels like you're personally struggling. But the people that have more money can do good for it on a bigger scale. Like, the more money that a business has on hand means it's more that they can invest into their company, to advance it, incorporate new technologies or whatever, upgrade their systems, upgrade their processes, which helps in turn drive costs down. Like, say you have some kind of manufacturing plant and you're able to invest in more automation. Well, then that means, I guess unfortunately you'd be cutting employees, but in turn it's cutting costs. Now things are a lot cheaper with robots instead of people, and then when it gets out to market, they can sell the same product for less. Conversely, it also means that they can open more sites, which could mean more jobs. Maybe if you're a company like Amazon, you can invest in your vehicles, so you get better vehicles, maybe bigger even, so you can fit more stuff in them. Just having that money just goes back into the system and helps make things, into that business system I meant, and can make things better, and in the long run can make more jobs, can make more, just everything better. So that's also why they get a slight break, just because it's helping the economy and all that. in another way. So not only is there the taxes that help, but then there's the behind the scenes that helps. So yeah, and talking about fair taxes and all this, like from what I understand, based on something I saw on Ben Shapiro, we do have a super fair tax system in place already. Anyways, it's just these Dems think that because you're a billionaire, you should be charged like 50% of your wages or something. Oh, well, you're rich, you can afford that. Okay, but then it's almost like it almost kills innovation at that point if you're going to be that taxed, you know what I mean? Like, the whole point is you innovate and you do something cool, and then if you get rich, then it makes you feel good, like, hey, I did this. But if you're going to be taxed 50%, then it's like, well, what do I want to work hard for to do this if I'm just going to be paying the government, basically? I'm going to innovate and make something cool, and then it's basically government-owned? That's going to kill innovation, or it's going to make people want to try to innovate elsewhere. Hey, where can I do this that would not affect me so poorly? Anyways, so then he goes on to say that something about a 25% tax. I forget what this was in relation to, but he says something like it'll generate $500 billion over 10 years. And he tried to say that like it was good, but when I heard that, I started to think about it, and I'm like, $500 billion over 10 years? That just means $50 billion per year. Like, you realize how little that is in the context of government? Yeah, if I was making $50 billion a year, that'd be awesome. I'd be rich. That's like Mr. Deeds. He inherited $40 billion, and look, he was loaded, and that was just an inheritance. If I was making $50 billion a year, whew, that'd be sick. But in terms of government, $50 billion is nothing. First off, we have, 36 trillion in debt? $50 billion is nothing compared to... to 36 trillion. It's what, 0.5%? So if you tried to pay that money towards the national debt, it would do nothing. 500 billion over the course of the 10 years. Even if we added nothing to the national debt, in 10 years you'd still be at 36 trillion. If we had like 36 trillion, $500 billion in debt, you'd still be at 36 trillion. It does nothing. Also, think about all this money we give to Ukraine. It's like $100 billion every 2 weeks. Well, 100 billion is double the 50 billion a year, and that's every 2 weeks. So, he tries to make it sound like it's cool, but when you really break it down, it's like, what is this doing? Now, on the other hand, I don't remember offhand what he was talking about. If he was talking about taxing businesses at 25% tax rate like this or what. I think he meant overall, though. But if it was per, like, big business, then maybe that makes a difference. Okay, 50 billion a year per big business, like Apple and all that. But I don't think it is that. I'm pretty sure it was more like just a collective, and it's like, okay. But of course, these dumb idiots hear it, oh my god! And it's like, did you even think for a second? Jeez, I heard that and started thinking about it immediately, and was like, that's terrible. Anyways, side one of the sheet is over. Whew. I told you there was a lot here. 40 minutes. Whew. And we only got through side one.